the winning period. God is trying to get us there and trying to transition us from the waiting period to the winning period. And you've got to see this. Thank you, gentlemen. They're good. They're good. Y'all such perfectionists. I want you to see this. These awesome deacons. Yo, we got good deacons. Good deacons, awesome deacons. I want to show you this because we have two individuals both in the waiting period. And in every waiting period, there is a test. There's always a test. Always a test. You must pass the test. The goal is for us to get to the winning period and the place of promise. But what happens oftentimes when the one that God uses many times to administer the test, how many know that God will use the enemy to administer his test? He did it with Job, don't you remember? Job wasn't bothering nobody, but God used the enemy to administer the test. But here's what happens with many of us. The enemy comes, come on now, enemy. And when the enemy comes, come on, God is trying to get us to hold on and wait in the waiting period. And we're fighting God to come out of the waiting period. And so God just let us go. He said, if you want to go that bad, go. It's amazing because as soon as the enemy shows up, we leave. So when the enemy leaves, we come back. But there's another one here that's been patiently waiting. The enemy shows up again. The enemy showing up. He shows up. He shows up. He runs. God is trying to hold us in, and we leave again. But this one has learned how to get comfortable in the waiting. Real comfortable. But we show up again because the enemy is gone. And all the time, every time the enemy is showing up, when the enemy shows up, God tries to hold on to us. We leave the waiting period. Look at somebody and tell them, stand still. It's important for us to get this because what we want to do is be able to transition from the waiting period to the winning period without the presence of the test. We just want to, come on with me fellas, we just want to walk on in to the winning period. We want to walk on in to the place of promise. And God began to deal with me about this because he said it don't always work like that. Because there are times where I'm putting you in the waiting period and I'm allowing things to transpire because I'm trying to do something in your life. There are times that I've already looked down the road to ascertain what you're going to need to prepare you for where you're going. So important for us to see this because we think the enemy only shows up in the waiting period. But what happens is that same enemy circles around, and when we get to the winning period, we have developed a habit of leaving every time the enemy and the test shows up. But because this man of God has gotten so comfortable, he's learned to wait and get into the waiting period and get into the winning period. So even though the enemy has shown up, he's learned to get comfortable just like he got comfortable over here. Because he said, I met you in the waiting period and it did not cause me to run. So when I get to my winning period, I'm going to do the same thing I learned how to do while I was over here and wait on the Lord and be of good courage, and he shall strengthen our heart. the enemy is still bothering him. And he's in the winning period. What many of us have missed is that the winning period and the waiting period are both going to have the enemy. We think the enemy is only here. But God says, I want you to learn to do this. Not only do I want you to get comfortable, but I want you to transition with the enemy. Come on, man.